Athletes press conference. This will be our final Whoop UCI Mountain Bike World Series press conference here in Mont-Sainte-Anne, Quebec, the 29th edition of the World Cup. The World Championships has been held here also 3 times, alors 29e édition. De la Coupe du Monde, on a eu également eu 3 championnats du monde par le passé. Avec nous aujourd'hui, with us today, Valentina Hull from YT Mob. We have Loïc Bruni from Specialized Gravity. Finn Isles, his teammate, also from Specialized Gravity. With us also, Alessandra Keller from Thomas Maxson. We have Victor Koretsky from Specialized Factory Racing and Isabella Holmgren from Canada. So, let's start. Commençons. First and foremost, this will be a question for Vali, for Loïc, and for Alessandra. You've all, in your own rights, wrapped up the World Cup standings mathematically, let's just put it that way. What's your motivation to show up at the finals, even if everything is the deal is sealed, as we say?
Well, there's definitely less pressure coming into this race. There's nothing we need to secure anymore, but at the end of the day, we're all really competitive athletes, and every race is a race we want to win, or I guess so.
Me, I didn't want to come, and I had to. So, no, it was really, for me, it's the one race I'm looking forward to the most, almost. It's not in France, but it's almost feeling like France. One of the best track of the year, so it's a good way to see if I can perform without pressure. And it's amazing to wrap it up. For us, I think, to wrap it up one race early, it's a little bit boring maybe for a spectator point of view. It's not so exciting, but it feels really good, and we see now how we can handle a chill weekend.
Alessandra, what's your motivation, even if things are wrapped up, to come to the final event?
Well, basically in the XCO it's not 100% wrapped up, but for the short track, and I mean, it's super cool to enjoy the whole environment here, and yeah, we already had these 2 weekend trip planned, so it's a big honor to actually race here and then just, enjoy the last 2 races.
Vali, and this will be a question for Alessandra and Loïc again, and after that we'll move into more general questions. What will be an item you would want to work on in the off-season to make 2025 even better than this season?
Well, it's a tough one. I feel like you're never happy anyways with how well you prepared. You can do the best and be healthy all year through, but you still find things that you're not 100% stoked on. And I feel like it's always pretty exciting because already by June, July, you're like actually fired up for the off-season because you have already some targets you want to follow and try something new. I think that's a huge motivation to keep going.
Alessandra?
Yeah, I mean, from the XCO side, it's the technical and the physical thing for sure. You never stop with developing, so that's for sure one of the things. And then in general, with like material and stuff, we can still improve. So that's basically everything we try, to analyze at the end of the season and then to work during the winter and then hopefully, even get better next year.
Loïc?
For me, I think it's I'm getting older a little bit too now. There's examples in downhill that I've been excelling even with age, let's say. So I need to keep being curious, questioning myself. We had a meeting yesterday. There's a lot of things that my crew already pointed out that I need to improve, and it's not always easy to hear where you suck and where you need to be better. But it's so important to be open-minded and accept the criticism. And we have already a few points where I actually need to work. This year has been really bad for weather instability. And the rain and the mud is my Achilles tendon, you know? So it's funny that I actually win the overall on the season like this, but we have to improve at the mindset, the riding in these conditions, and a lot of other little things. New bikes, like new stuff coming with the bike too. It's going to be really interesting, busy one again. But hopefully I can be ready for when Jackson comes back and all this stuff. So it'll be cool.
Finn, what does he have to work on in the off season? I'm just kidding. Oh, you can go for it if you want. Go for it, man. What do you as an athlete? You're coming of age. We've really seen a Finn that was more confident this year, based on work you did over the last off season. What are you planning on working on this off season?
I feel like I've made a lot of strides to be a more consistent rider over the last few years. I mean, I have somebody to look up to all the time and somebody to look at within the team that I can be like, okay, these are the things that he does. But now finding that last percent to be the overall champion or world champion, I have to find my own way, I think. And for me, the most important thing is to try and find the last 1, 2, 3% that I'm missing, because the consistency is there, but I haven't won anything this year, so that's a little bit frustrating for me. So I think going into the off season, working on the bike, my strength, my physical strength, and then the mental game, I think, is the most important thing in downhill, and to just sort of clue into all the things that I haven't been exceeding at this year to improve and get better for next year.
I'm coming to Victor and Isabella now. Victor, it's been an amazing season, you know, an Olympic medal, a world championship title, in the fight for the overall. But still, as these other women and gentlemen, there must be things that you're looking at going like, in the off season, I better be paying attention to that.
Yeah, sure. Like we always want to improve on bike, on strength. I mean, I'm a bit like Loic now, less young than before. So I think it's interesting because we think different, and maybe we are less strong compared to before. But with the experience, we improve on a lot of different things, and this is why maybe we are now on the top and on the best shape ever. I mean, it's a physical sport, but it's a lot of side who count a lot. And if you are on a good team with good bike, and if you feel comfortable, then like 100% of the work is done. so yeah. I mean, now this winter we just want to work a little bit on the bike, but we don't have a lot of big changes. So yeah, we always want to improve as a professional athlete, and yeah, we will see. It could be an interesting winter.
Isabella, same question, but you can't use age as as an excuse here. It's been an amazing season, a great start to your U23 career. You came on the international scene as a junior, winning cyclocross world championships, finishing 4th at the road race, then the mountain bike championships. This year has been quite a revelation, and you were telling me earlier on that it came a bit of as a surprise. You didn't think you would do that well in this first year. So what's your analysis on what you need to work on for next year?
Yeah, so it's my first year U23, so I didn't really know how I would do against the older girls, but yeah, it was a really nice start to the year, and yeah, going into next year, I think there's always places you can improve, like they said, but yeah, I'd really like to work on my confidence in the technical sections of the courses, and yeah, just being more confident on the bike in general, I think.
Last weekend in Lake Placid was a historical day. We'll talk a bit, about Canadian pride here. It was a very, very historical day for Canada. You and Cole Punchard on the same weekend, winning the U23 XCO race. What's your feel and your take on the way the younger Canadians, we saw you perform very well at the World Championships. What's your take on what's coming now for Canada?
Yeah, I think Canada is sort of starting to show themselves in the XCO. Yeah, it's so nice to see everyone doing so well, and I think it's sort of events like this that really help bring the Canadians like closer to the top. So yeah, and it was really nice seeing Cole and the whole Pivot team win the World Cup last weekend. My brother has ridden for their team in the past, and they're just super nice people. So it's good to see that they finally got a victory.
Good community going on in that team. Valley, talking about community, we saw this year your change of teams back to YT Mob. We felt you seemed to be more at ease this year, more relaxed. Was that coming a lot from the team, coming a lot from the equipment?
I think it also has a lot to do with like growing up and having a bit more self-confidence. I feel like when you start the World Cup, you're 16, and now I'm 22, and there's a lot of stuff happening. You're growing up, your personality is changing, and it takes time to appreciate what you already achieved. And I don't know, I feel like for me it took 3 world champion titles to finally be like, okay, maybe I don't suck at riding bikes. So obviously the team was a massive help as well, because there is everything there that I need, and I think we're improving every race, and we want to do every year better. You know, even though we might not be one of the biggest teams or like the one with the most history, but I think we're in a good way to make the YT Mob one of the biggest teams out there.
It's the little big team, as we could say. Finn, you've won here before. It was a historical day. You're talking about Canadians. It was a historical day a couple of years ago. Does that give a rider confidence on such a track to say, hey, I've won here before? Does that calm, the nerves down a little bit?
I would say definitely. I feel like every single time I come to this course, I go, hey, I won here before. I definitely know how to ride this course fast. So it's one of those things where if you win somewhere once, you have an idea of how fast the track actually is, or like what the speed limit is. And I think on this track, with the changes they made this year, there's still that like soul of Mont-Sainte-Anne on it, which is really special. And I think that just being back in Canada and having the crowd behind me and my parents here and being back to, what I know also instills a lot of confidence in me. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially on a track like this that's so high speed, is having confidence and just believing that you can. So for me, I think knowing that I've done it and having all that support is huge.
Loic, this is a question for you. You've spent the last couple of weeks, it's not a secret, you've been around Bromont, you've been around Quebec for the last couple of weeks. You rode with a lot of young kids. You saw how popular the sport was as you and Amaury and Miriam and Tristan and Thomas Estac, you were followed around like almost the Beatles. What's your take on this, on the state of downhilling and this sport in the province?
Yeah, it was really cool to be 1 week in Bromont. I spent most of the time in Bromont, not so much in Quebec, but I was really impressed by the community. Everybody rides, everybody is into trail riding, trail building. The kids love to ride, the kids love to go and do their jumps, and I feel like I didn't see that many times in my life, maybe almost never. In France it's different, it's a little bit more like everybody does it, but a little bit less as a one united family, let's say. So I really enjoyed Bromont. I was looking at houses and stuff because wanted to move there almost, but I think Canada has done a good job. Stevie Smith, Finn, now Jackson, there's been a lot of really big dogs coming up and showing good stuff, even though they're all from the West Coast. It's still Canada, and I think they have really good examples, really good people that love riding and love expanding and sharing things, like Nico at the center. And it's amazing to see that those people pretty much dedicate their lives, and it works because they make money with it. They make a living out of it, but they make such a big difference for those kids. If they really want to, they pretty much can achieve anything. Out of the maybe 30, 40, 50 kids we saw, maybe a few will race and win World Cups and stuff, but still, this is how you get people better and better. And I felt like even though racing was pretty present, it was not only about racing, it was about like everything else, which is really cool. And I enjoyed looking at these kids and riding with them. It was special. It
was a very successful year. You still have some unaccomplished business, I guess.
Yeah, so no, I did a super nice season. To be on the podium on the Olympic and also on the World was amazing, even if my goal was to win those two races. But no, at the end, it's an amazing season. I won 4 World Cups already. And yeah, I missed also 2 World Cups, and I'm still leading the overall on the XCC and second on XCO. So yeah, it's super nice. And since the Olympic finally, for XCO rider, it's super important to be there, especially for French athletes, because it's already difficult to go there and to race there. So when you race, then it's difficult to stay focused and to keep the motivation. But yeah, fortunately the World Champ was just after, and I just keep going till the World Champ, and then just keep going till the end of the season. And I just enjoy riding my bike. I love my job, and I think it's one of my secrets.
Alessandra, on a sadder note, we lost Muriel Führer, pre-Lake Placid, a wonderful, talented Swiss cyclist. What was it like as a Swiss cyclist to have to were there thoughts? Was the Swiss biking community talking a lot last week before Lake Placid?
Yeah, I think especially she was part of the whole preparation team. We did 3 weeks in altitude and then went to World Champs. And then, I mean, everything's so close. And to me, it was like, yeah, I just all the athletes realized again how like fragile life actually is and how like close we are, and still it put everything in a little different perspective. I think, yeah, everyone kind of deals different with it. So if you, yeah, we're more quiet than others, but still we had talks together, and I mean, yeah, it's always like we go somewhere all over the world to race, and it's our biggest passion. But on the other hand, you see, yeah, life just a little different, and I think that, yeah, also helped us seeing the community and, yeah, to appreciate what we're doing actually.
Thanks, Alessandra. Talking about World Championships, Isabella, will finish with you on this. You realized a feat that not many people have. You became the first short track U23 Women's World Champion, then winning the XCO race. Talk us through how that week went in Andorra. A pretty historical, amazing week for you.
Yeah, it was a super nice week. I had just come from Tour de l'Avenir, so I was feeling pretty excited to race on the mountain bike again. Started off the week in the relay, and Canada had once again a really nice relay, so that was really cool to see. And yeah, that just set the good vibes for the rest of the week, and a good opener for the short track, and the short track was a good opener for the XCO. So yeah, a really fun weekend. A bit of a change going into the XCO. There was a change in schedule due to weather, so we were told we had to race with the elites, which was pretty scary, but yeah, in the end, I think it was super nice to be able to race with them.
I think you finished, if we looked at the times there, you finished 5th or 6th had you raced in the elites or something like that, so very good performance. We're going to cut this short a little bit because we have a little bit of a special guest invite here. We're going to bring another chair up. He is going to be closing the books on an illustrious career. He's been a 4-time world champion. He's raced here since, I think, 2001. I'd like to bring on Mr. Greg Minnaar. Is Greg there? There he is. He's sitting right there. Greg, take a seat, man. So first and foremost, we're going to ask every single person here, especially our downhillers. We'll start with them just as they're a bit more close. Loic, if you were to describe Greg in one word.
God.
That's a good start. Valley?
Oh, you stole mine.
Mine too.
Oh, work hard, kids.
I guess gentleman.
Oh, that's good.
Competitor.
There you go. Starting with you, Finn, a memory you have of, being next to Greg on the World Cup and all that, something that stands out, one of those moments where you go, wow, legend.
Growing up, I watched a lot of bike racing movies, and one of my favorites is called The Tipping Point, and it was like my favorite movie as a kid, still one of my favorite bike movies of all time. And everyone in that who's a legend of the sport basically retired before I was able to race them, and the only person that was still racing is Greg Minnaar. And he always kicked my ass for the first few years of my career, but one of the things that stands out is at an after party one time, he threw a plant at me, and I thought, one of the best racers in the world, somebody I looked up to, a lot, threw a plant at me, and I thought that was pretty funny because it was a really roundabout moment for me to be like, oh, I'm on the World Cup circuit and I'm competing with this guy, but then it's also like having sort of those kind of different times that I think in a sport, well, in this sport are pretty cool, yeah.
Valley?
Greg and I have a good friend at home in my hometown, Saalbach. He knows him, Mookie. I think you spend a few good days up there. Really good schnapps, so if you ever come to Saalbach, Greg knows where the place is.
What was the question?
A moment, a memory that you with Greg that over the years stands out.
I have many because I've been around quite a bit too, but first of all, I'm surprised. Greg always surprises me, so it's quite cool to see someone always find a way to stay at the top. But that one time I won my first World Championships in Andorra in 2015. Greg was second, and he was really happy for me. It felt genuine, at least. So it was really cool to see, like, for me to win, and then in front of such a big name, like massive, like him and Josh Bryceland were on the podium, and it felt so special. And he was really positive about his performance, about my performance, and it was like a really important moment, I think, in my career to follow what I was doing, and it was super nice to race against him all this time.
I'd like to hear, does anybody have, even our cross-country athletes, I'd be curious to hear you guys, anything you want to ask Greg about, being so great, what's the secret to success?
No, maybe I have also one memory about him.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, for sure. Let's add it on.
Maritzburg, they changed the lyrics of one song for him, and I have this song on my head. So no, it was Greg Minnaar, ooh, and it was like so funny because everyone was with this song on the mind for a long time. So now it's a legend of the downhill. He's on cross country maybe. So it's super nice also to share time out of the sport. I think on cross country we share more time with him on the party after. So now it's a legend. And maybe one question is how it's your secret to be consistent for the whole career without a lot of injuries. And I think maybe you ride and you won a lot of time riding at 95%, and I think it's maybe one thing or one secret. I don't know.
Well, thanks again for the great comments, even you, Finn. I mean, we have a great rivalry, and I think it's good. It was.
It's a one-sided rivalry.
But it's I think you answered your own question earlier. You had a lot of fun while you were doing it, and I've had a lot of fun in the 27 years of racing World Cups. It's although it might look like 95%, it's felt like 105% each race I've won. So, but really just having a good time. We're in a great industry with great people and great competitors, as you've probably just noticed. We've all got a lot of respect for each other in many different ways, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been a great experience. So I think embrace every race and just enjoy it and keep enjoying what you're doing.
Alessandra?
Well, first of all, congrats for the great season. And it was always for me as a younger athlete growing up, it was always really inspiring to see that, I mean, even these guys or everyone is like a personality. And I felt like he was in the whole downhill circuit coming from cross country. He was a big personality. And for me, or the question I would like to ask is, what is the biggest message or thing you take away after your long career?
Oh, well, it's been I actually started racing in cross country. Back in the 90s, you had to race both disciplines on the same bike. The only difference is you'd take your bar ends off if you were racing downhill. So it's been great to watch cross country and watch you guys have such successful careers, and then to end up in downhill. I started off in motocross, so I went from motocross to cross country and downhill, and then favored more downhill. So my career path did some twists and turns. It's one thing I'd probably take away is just to be grateful for every experience. It's you come to all these amazing locations. My first time in Mont-Sainte-Anne was 98. I came for the World Champs. It was my second Junior World Championship. And one of the things I was probably going to miss the most about the sport is coming to amazing locations like this. And the bike's taken me to, many places around the world, but this is quite a unique place to come and visit. So I think that's one of the things that probably made me the most nervous about retiring. And once I found that place within a brand that I could then know that I was coming back to all these venues, maybe not as one of the horses in the race, but still competing within the team, it made retiring a lot easier. And so, yeah, I'm glad to see Mont-Sainte-Anne on the schedule next season. I'm glad I can come back and enjoy watching it from the sideline. I get to watch a lot of cross-country racing. I haven't got to watch a lot of downhill racing. And only a few times when I've been injured that I've been able to watch it from the sidelines. But it's such a captivating sport. You know, when you're racing it, you don't get to enjoy the weekend as much as you do when you're probably at the 3 parties that you were speaking about earlier and cheering on your favorite riders on the side of the track. You know, we're in this intensely stressed out point trying to figure out where on track we can go faster, where we need to work on ourselves to be quicker. And then we get to enjoy the one night after the race and maybe watch the cross country the following day. But I think it's time to really enjoy the whole weekend. The full 3 nights and not just the Saturday, Sunday.
Isabel, did you have something finally, or are we?
Yeah, so you mentioned that you really enjoy coming to Canada. So what's your favorite part about Canada?
Well, besides Finn, you know, I've come to Mont-Sainte-Anne pretty much every year except for the 2 years in COVID. Was it 2 years we didn't come to Mont-Sainte-Anne? And I haven't really spent a lot of time in BC. And this year I went back to Whistler for the first time in maybe 13, 14 years. And got to ride out there. And, you know, it's an incredible country. I mean, there's so much to it. But, I'm on a Canadian brand now. And so the roots are really tied back to Canada. So I think I'm going to enjoy a little bit more time here.
Greg, you're going to sit on the bike in that start house for the last time. What do you think is going to be going through your head, the emotions?
You know, I haven't really been that emotional about it, to be honest. It's, when you look back at some of the videos, yeah, that does get you a little bit. But it's, I'm really happy with being able to finish in Mont-Sainte-Anne, to be able to finish with a Canadian brand like Norco in Mont-Sainte-Anne. And, I'm just full race mode. So today's been tough, lots of media. But tomorrow's like full focus on racing. I would like to finish on a good result. To me, that would be the most amazing way to finish a career. And it definitely hasn't been an easy year. Starting the season and then being injured and trying to come back from injury and then trying to perform it hasn't been the easiest. But Mont-Sainte-Anne, I've managed to win one race here, and I've had a bunch of seconds, I think 6 or 7 second places. So it has been quite good, but it's a great racetrack. Walking the track today, they did an incredible job up there. It really looks good. So I'd love nothing more than to finish on a strong race result.
Well, from everybody in Mont-Sainte-Anne, merci, Greg, for those great years. It's been fantastic. Merci to you all for being with us today. We're going to let you go and get ready for a racing weekend here. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, everybody.